Hey guys, Steve here from Bloom Audio. Today, we have the EXT from Vision Ears. So we just recently started carrying Vision Ears at Bloom Audio. And EXT, when we got our demos in, really emerged as a favorite of mine after giving them a couple listens. So the question is, at $2,960, is that just like my opinion? Or does EXT really have what it takes to stand out in a crowd of flagship IEMs? Let's take a closer look. So for our review, we have the demo package of the EXT. So it is missing the really cool case that you get with the retail version, as well as some adapters and some of the case candy. But we do get, the IEMs, the cable, and this ear tip selection that you'll get with the retail package. So first, I want to say this is one of my favorite ear tip packages that I've gotten with an IEM. You get the Oslos and the spin fits in one package. And I'm usually a spin fit guy, but these Oslos really did the job for me with the EXTs, the way they fit. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So, the IEMs themselves just have a really cool design. It looks kind of like futuristic, but in that like sort of edgy 2000s sort of futuristic. Not like, I don't know, Star Trek futuristic, but I really dig the design. The cable's pretty solid. It's a pretty standard rubber wrap on an 8-wire silver-plated copper cable. It comes terminated in the 2.5. And again, the retail package has an adapter for 2.5 to 4.4 to go along with that as well. Now, what's interesting about these a lot is the fit. So if you look at the shape, you can see it's a little bit more contouring than usual. And what it really does is try to simulate a custom IEM-like fit in a universal IEM. So when you put that in, first it seems a little bit awkward, maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but I found this is really one of the best seals and best stability I've ever gotten in a universal IEM. So it's a really cool design. And again, you get a great package. This is very clearly like well built with this aluminum faceplate and just the whole look and feel of everything. The insert on the cables is really secure, nicely done. So yeah, just a great package with clear premium materials and built here. To me, EXT's sound is really defined by the way it blends these contradictory elements together. It's fast and technical, but also natural and emotional. It presents incredible detail and micro detail, but with a tuning that's also fun and engaging. The upper mids and treble are in some ways the star of the show, or what really stands out in how well this is tuned. Because you get this great speed, the resolution, the strong definition. One of the ways the definition really strikes me is the way ride cymbals are presented, and they don't overring. You get this really clear differentiation between each hit on a ride cymbal, but at the same time, you don't lose the realism and the natural feeling of that instrument in that. The vocals have this very just emotional feeling to them, particularly female vocals, where you get this intimacy and emotion in the vocals along with this strong resolution, and it all works together really well. The bass is another highlight, and it gives you that depth, that rumble, the slam, the impact and dynamics that's really important in a lot of modern genres, things like EDM and hip hop, a lot of alternative rock. And it gives you to that with a bass that's also well textured and articulate. Again, balancing these sort of disparate elements where you get a ton of bass without the bleed and with the texture, where it's almost enough to satisfy anyone, where it's not going to bleed unnecessarily or have bloat in there, like you would expect a lot of bass-heavy tunings to do, but it's delivering the level of bass that you would almost always expect to be accompanied with a little bit of bloat. And so it does a really great job, again, balancing those sort of disparate elements in the tuning. The mid-range has some recession, again, allowing you to feel that sense of emphasis in the bass and in the treble. But it still feels very natural, where it doesn't feel like the mids are really scooped out. It just feels like there's, again, that emphasis on either side of the mids with very full, detailed mids in the meantime. So this is especially notable in the vocal performance, as I mentioned, with the upper mids, in particular with female vocals. But in general, you do get a very warm, emotional vocal performance. You get a very natural timbre to instruments. And now part of this is due to EXT's engineering, where instead of using balanced armatures, as is sort of the typical choice for mid-range and a multi-driver IEM, EXT is using one dynamic for the bass and then a smaller dynamic driver for the mid-range with the electrostatics for the high. And I think that dynamic driver in the mid-range adds that level of emotion and natural feeling to the mid-range that might be lost otherwise. And what brings this all together is the imaging. Now, I've listened to a couple IEMs recently where I felt like there's this artificial extension to the soundstage width, where it sounds huge, but it doesn't sound natural, and then usually that comes at the cost of the actual imaging, the placement and the positioning of the instruments, and then the weight of those instruments as well. So a lot of times you get this feeling, it's a wide sound stage, and then you get these sort of floaty vocals somewhere in your face. EXT doesn't do that. EXT gives you that width, but it gives you that width in a way that sounds natural because it's well-rounded. And when it places the instruments and the vocals in the mix, in the stereo image, it does so with precision and with the right amount of weight and positioning to each of those things. So it really helps bring all these elements together. You have a natural timbre, you have this great emotional delivery of vocals, and this strong, powerful bass. And it's all balanced with these instruments expertly placed on that three-dimensional image that's all around you as you listen. Along with EXT, I was also able to take a listen to the VE8 and the Phonix, or Phonix, or whatever it is. Just don't get hooked on it. And they each kind of give you a different look. Or a different sound, I guess, not really a look. They also give you a different look. And each of them has their own unique characteristics, but at the same time, you can start to see the similarities, sort of what that Vision Ears sound is as you listen and compare. So Vision Ears is an 8-driver, all-balanced armature IEM that sits at the top of Vision Ears' sort of VE line. So there's a VE2, VE3, VE4, and that number at the end basically just tells you how many balanced armature drivers you're getting in the IEM. So this line is a little bit more tailored towards audio professionals, towards musicians, the studio for stage, and that sort of thing. So while none of them are really like a true neutral reference strict sound, there is a little bit more of a tendency towards a reference delivery there. And that's definitely the case with VE8, where it gives you very much of a neutral, detailed sound. It's a little bit of extra emphasis in the bass. So there's some similarities there in the tuning of the highs. I don't think the balanced armatures in VE8 can do quite the same thing as the electrostatics, the way they're tuned for the EXT, but you do get very strong resolution in the treble, and you get a very present treble. You get some of those same strong definition characteristics, and some of the ways that air really benefits the feeling of space. VE8 has that as well. I think overall the mid-range is more detailed but less emotional, maybe a little bit less natural sounding than EXT's mid-range. And again, the bass, now, this is definitely, all the Vision Ears that I've heard at least, when they have the balanced armature bass, they do a great job of it not feeling like a balanced armature bass. It's really competing with dynamic bass. Not quite, again, to level of EXT's bass, but VE8 gives you a strong bass as well. So what it's really giving you, it's a smaller sound stage, not quite as immersive imaging, not quite the same level of natural timbre in the vocals, but still a lot of the same tuning characteristics as EXT. Phonix is a 13 driver IEM. And I see it as sort of taking some of the best characteristics of VE8 and EXT and combining them into one IEM. Where, again, you've got it's balanced armature bass. It's very good balanced armature bass. The EXT probably still has a little bit of edge there, but Phonix's bass is definitely excellent. You get that high-end extension again, really fast resolution, the air in the treble and the strong definition and all of those characteristics that really worked on the EXT. But then rather than a recessed mids, you get a really full mid-range that really kind of brings out, it moves vocals and other mid-range instruments, guitar, piano, really forward in the mix and adds to that feeling of intimacy, of emotion in the mid-range. So Phonix is a little bit more neutral overall, I think, than either VE8 or EXT, but at the same time, it maintains a lot of those performance elements that make EXT so great in a 13 driver balanced armature flagship IEM. So all three really combine some of these same elements: the resolution, the bass, some of that intimacy in the mid-range, just kind of to varying degrees. Where, if you want something that's a little bit, more reference and a little bit less price, VE8 is going to give that to you. If you want sort of the fun one that's going to give you that real emphasis in the low end that the other two don't quite match, then EXT's got that, again, along with the strong detail, the good resolution. And then at the top, you've got Phonix, which comes really close to getting all of those characteristics, even though I still find a couple of ways that EXT might be the choice over Phonix. But Phonix definitely, in terms of the technical and the overall presentation, is absolutely incredible too. At this stage, I've probably heard 100 different IEMs. And while I can recognize the top tier sound and design in a lot of them, it takes something special to really blow me away. And EXT did blow me away. And I think that's because you combine, all of this detail, the precision, the imaging, the technical capability, with the emotion and the engagement and just the way that it works for so much of the music that I love at a flagship level. So, if you do listen to a lot of, rock, electronic, hip hop, and other genres like that, and you're looking for an IEM that can really capture those performances and deliver them with both emotion and technical proficiency, EXT just might blow you away too. Thanks for watching. You can check out EXT, the rest of Vision Ears lineup, and a lot of other great products at bloomaudio.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon with more hi-fi personal audio content.